Okay, that's fine. I don't need an apron.
So basically, we made the leaven last night. Sorry. I took the leaven. Every time you make bread, you make a bunch of leaven and starter. And you want to have a really fresh, young leaven. So you take a tablespoon out and you throw everything else away. So you take a tablespoon out, I just set it aside, and then I throw everything else, the starter, away. And then you add 200 grams of water, warm water, like 60, 70 degrees. And then 200 grams of flour. It's a mixture of 100 grams of whole wheat flour and 100 grams of white flour.
Okay.
And then you let it sit overnight, or you can start in the morning and let it sit till the evening. And then it grows by about, this one, about 20%. And then it smells kind of fruity. And it looks a little aerated. And it's ready to go. And you can also, I just
try and get that aeratedness. So there's like little holes, you mean?
Yeah, and you can also see if it passes the float test.
Let's do that.
I just tamped it on the surface, so it might have caused some of the air to flow out, but it should be okay. So if you take a spoonful out, put it in the water. So yeah, I mean,
if it's properly aerated, it'll float.
Yeah.
Why do you use grams?
Because if you measure flour, it could be packed more or less, and so you always want to use just pure weight, because cups you can always pack more or less in the cups, and then it also makes things easier to think about. So now you're thinking about percentages. So I'm using 1,000 grams of flour, and then I'm going to use 750 grams of water, so it's a 75% hydration. And it's just a little bit more accurate, I think. But basically the ingredients are flour, water, salt. And then and this is also flour and water, but this is the starter, which we'll use as a separate ingredient.
Matt, is you sure you want me to put a new account on there? Because that's a lot of questions. And why can't you use? Why can't you just use your?
I think we'll do it later, because I think you have to plug it into your computer. Is what I'm saying. We have 700 plus 50 grams of water, 200 grams of leaven, 1,000 grams of flour total, so 900 grams of white flour, 100 grams of whole wheat, and 20 grams of salt. So you just measure the stuff out, and we're going to mix it all. The greatest Christmas present ever. The gift of bread.
Oh, that's wasn't what I was talking about, but...
Oh. So...
That can't be in my video.
You have to clean that up in post. 100 grams of whole wheat flour. Okay? Do it. So you have to have a scale to move that.
Really?
Yeah.
You can't do it with measuring cups?
No. You missed that part of the video.
Yeah, now I have to repeat everything.
It's fine. When we're running low on white flour, I usually get this like bread flour, but we can use all-purpose. It doesn't really make a huge difference. And so we're going to do 900 grams of this.
900?
900. This is enough for 2 loaves of bread.
Oh, right. He said in the book it was all 1 kilogram.
Yeah, and that allows you to think about the portions easier. So, I mean, his argument is that you can now, like, say, oh, I like that bread, but it wasn't salty enough. It's easier to say, like, well, I was at 20% salt. You know, what if I go to, like, 30? Or, you know. Hydration is the big thing that you want to play with. So we have 1,000 grams of flour. Now we need 700 plus 50 grams of water.
Why 700 plus 50? Because you separate it?
Yeah.
So you just measured, this is the 700 grams of water, and this is the 50 grams of water.
And then I'm also gonna, this is gonna be the salt.
Okay.
Oh, these glasses are the same way.
How much salt?
So they recommend 20, and I always do more, because I like more salt. Because it doesn't taste salty enough with me with 20. So I usually do either like, I've done upwards of 40, or lately I've been doing 35. The bread you had was 35. What did you think of that bread?
It was good.
More or less salt?
Same.
I feel like I'm making buffers.
And then you want to measure out the leaven, 200 grams of leaven. And then now we need 200 grams of this, and the rest is your next starter. You should have about half of it left.
So what does that taste like?
I don't know, I've never tasted it.
I think you should taste it, Dan.
I mean, it's like just yeast though. And like bacteria. I don't know.
Dan likes to eat dough.
Alright. I don't know. I don't think it'd hurt you, right?
Eat it, Dan. Eat it.
You want to taste?
Face the camera when you eat it.
Don't put your finger in the starter.
But you're not using this anymore, right?
No,
No,
we're
I
gonna
am.
get it. We're gonna get it. That's gonna be our starter.
It's pretty sour.
Yeah. That's not gonna like kill you, is it? I guess we'll see.
No.
See it here. Maybe it's like a probiotic. So this is your starter for the next thing. I think you have about half.
I mean, it's like yogurt's an active culture too, right?
but not of yeast,
Sure it is.
is it?
No, it's lactose sauce.
Oh, bacillus. You can't like bullshit with microbiology.
That's one area you can't.
You're telling me there's no yeast in yogurt?
Well, there might be, but that's not.
That's not the active.
That's not the dominant
culture. So then we have all of our ingredients. So now, usually I whisk the flour just to like mix it up a little bit.
Sorry.
You guys going shopping today for pizza?
No. I can return sometime.
Camera's kind of jiggling a lot.
And then you just add everything in there. Except for these things, the salt water you leave for. So this step is the autolyse step. Actually, it's better to mix the starter with the water first a little bit to kind of get it to disperse out. Because I imagine that there's like clumps of like dead yeast surrounding live yeast, and you want to like break it up and get it as dispersed as possible. So the active stuff can do its job.
Go back to the carpet. See, now the thing and all this stuff.
So then I just put my hand in and just mix it.
Is that what they teach you in class?
We didn't do this recipe in class, but yeah, I guess you.
But was it always hand mixing?
Yeah, you could. No, actually, I guess we did it with the mixer. And I always just use one hand because it gets pretty messy. This is the only phase where things get pretty messy. And you just try and get all the flour off the bottom.
Is it on YouTube? I think it's for our records.
There you go, New Year's online fitness offers.
Pretty fit.
You are. Actually, I'm thinking like.
Yeah, if you put it on YouTube, it'll be like, there's no starch in bread at this phase.
Yeah.
And then the reason I like to have this hand clean is it just makes it easier to kind of do this stuff. And you can do this with any kind of like hard
Well, I don't
spatula.
use-
Like I don't have a bread scraper, I just use a spatula or something that seems sharp and less flexible.
So you're just looking for it to be completely mixed.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like perfect because it's gonna sit here for a while and we're definitely gonna be turning it for a while. It's just you want to get most of the flour wet.
I wonder.
So now we let it rest for about 20 minutes. Covered.
Okay.
And then you're supposed to let it rest for 25 to 40 minutes, and we'll probably just cut this short since people don't want to go. And then we put this water aside, and we haven't added the salt. So then you just add the salt, just a lot, and then you add the water, and you just like, and see it's already like forming more of a cohesive mass of dough. That's because the gluten's starting to form and Glutens are just like long chain, I think they're long starches, right?
It's not a starch.
Or sugars or whatever. I think it's starch, which is sugar. And you'll feel like kind of the grittiness of the salt, and it probably won't all get in, but it's gonna be okay. And it's a pretty wet dough, see, like it's.
Yeah.
And then what Dad's gonna do, maybe. Are you gonna be around at all, Dad?
Yeah, I'll be around for a while.
All you do is, he's done this before, but you just get your hand wet, and it's gonna be a little easier to do when he does it because it's already gonna have some like volume. You just like fold it over on itself, and you do that every half hour for 4 hours.
Okay.
You're gonna set a timer.
And that's
for
all
your
you do. You literally do it like 4 times, and you walk away. So it's like an incubation lab. You have to kind of be around, but you don't have to do much.
So you're basically just trying to get some oxygen into the dough.
So if you cut it short, is it gonna not rise as much?
I don't know what happens when you cut it short. There's actually a lot of explanation in the book about like what happens when you don't do certain steps.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe we can voice that over at some point.
So the bread has been sitting for probably longer than it needed to, but it was at room temperature. Usually you want to keep it warm, like 70 degrees. So it probably took a little while to do the bulk fermentation. So it's fine that it's at the
How many outfits do you have to wear while making bread?
3.
Okay.
Actually 4, because we'll do the rest tomorrow. So you just turn it out into a floured surface. It should be a nice cohesive mass now. Like it should want to stay together. It does. And then this is 2 loaves worth, so we're just going to cut it essentially in half. And then we can do side by side action here.
Oh, both Larson brothers meeting?
Yeah, because
That's what I want to see. Dan, are your hands clean?
yeah, it's just like
Can I taste it?
you want. Here, this will be your loaf on the left.
Lily, I really would like for you to try some by yourself.
Put a little bit more flour in here.
We're getting the real gritty. The camera's gotten less steady.
Super sour.
It doesn't smell that sour. It can get really sour smelling. Now what you're going to do is just kind of like, you want it to stick to the surface a little bit, so if you have too much flour, you might want to like kind of turn it over and then use the other side or something, but
Sure.
you want to turn it so that it kind of sticks to the surface and builds tension.
Do you want me to roll your sleeves up for you, Dan?
See how this is starting to build up tension because it's sticking to the surface? Yours might not be sticking to the surface enough.
Yeah, Matt's got a better technique.
Maybe it's because they spin his the other way.
I just put more flour on your cutting board.
And it's starting to go.
Yeah. And it should look kind of like a taut ball like that. And I used to do it like this with like a spatula. I felt like this made it a little easier, but sometimes I just...
getting set up for the Nancy and her family.
Are we getting set up? Can I put the cookies out?
Not just yet. I want you to wait for her. She's got a plan. And I want you to
Oh, I guess it got a little flour.
something that she's.
And I was.
Can I read this for a second?
Maybe flip
We've been
it.
together all day. Can I read this for just a second, please?
For what? Well,
I would like for you to go play by
you
yourself.
have been 2 days. That's not all day. You have
Okay, it's good. And then you let, this is the bench rest. You let it sit for 20 minutes.
Gotcha.
You want to put your cookies out again?
Covered. So,
So this is Matt's
Sorry.
fourth outfit already. Matt, is that going to be a problem?
Nope.
Okay.
Continuity. We'll spice it up. So, what you want to notice is like if it's not developed enough, if you haven't got enough gluten, the bread will just spread. It'll be just like pancake batter. But see how it just kind of, it spread a little bit, but it kept its shape. It didn't just like flow out. It still has like a rounded edge. And so that's good. And if it did spread, you'd want to let it rest a little bit longer. So I think this is important for more like gluten development starches. So now what you're gonna do is get a little bit of flour.
Traditional. One
So
large.
sprinkle flour on top.
One medium. With 3
because we're gonna flip it, so you want it to be relatively well floured. And this you actually do want to do some flour because you're gonna be moving the dough around.
Pepperoni, jalapeno, garlic.
And you flip it. Oh.
Dan, they don't have a garlic topping.
Okay, that's fine. Skip it.
Just a pepperoni?
Yep.
Okay, just a pepperoni jalapeno.
Flip it. Flip it. Yeah.
Hawaiian.
You don't need. I like to use the spatula a bit. You don't need
No, I think that's it.
to. And so you want it to be able to. It should be pretty easy to move around. So make sure it's like floured enough. All you're gonna do is you're gonna pull it out, and then bring it back. Pull it out. Bring it back. Bring it back.
There's some cashews too.
And I think you just kind of want to like. You're probably only supposed to do it once, but I kind of just do it, and I feel like it looks like it's gonna kind of hold together. And then I do it like this, and then.
Like bundle it up like a diaper.
So is the idea not to handle it too much?
It doesn't really. It's gonna sit for another 8 hours.
Bob, it's
We've extended this bread making over a long amount of time, but it is a long process in general.
Are you're rolling it in flour to?
No, I wasn't really trying to roll it. I just wanted it to flip over, but the surface is not flour.
okay.
Well, what are we going for here? I'm confused with
I
the
just
goal.
wanted like a tucked ball. And I just like kind of do it like that, so I don't have to handle it too much. And then I bring it back, and that also tightens it up. So it should look kind of like that. Yeah. Okay. And then you just flour the towel. Flour the towel. And you don't want it to stick is the big thing, because you're going to turn this over into a hot Dutch oven. And then take it and put the smooth side down with the seam facing up. Smooth side down with the seam facing up. Yep. It builds the character of flavor if you let it sit for longer, ferment for longer, but you still don't want it to be super sour. So you're basically putting it in the fridge for 8 to 12 hours. So it slows the fermentation, but you still allow some of these flavors to build and kind of distribute throughout the whole. Is the idea. All of this may be a bit voodoo, but this is his method.
Who's he?
Chad Robertson is the tartine maker. So we'll put,
Copyright, Chad Robertson, Tartine.
so we'll put this downstairs and we'll cook tomorrow morning.
So, how many loaves of bread did you make over Hanukkah?
6. That's a lot. Even for,
Even by your usual standards.
yeah, normally I make 2 loaves a week. And I made 6 in the last week. We ate them all though, that was the thing. So I used to turn this directly into the
I said, hey, this second I'll get joined.
cast iron pan. But now it's hard to get it centered over the pan, and as soon as it's pan, it starts to sear because it's already in the oven at 500 degrees. It's been heating up for about 20 minutes. But now I turn it onto a surface because I feel like it gives me a little bit more control.
I think she's already cooked.
And it also makes it easier to score.
Has mine already cooked?
So that looks right?
That looks great, yeah. You can, it depends on like the shape of the loaf, but this like country loaf, you just do the whole circular thing. And the scoring is still an art that I haven't perfected. So Mom thinks it should be cold and a little bit floured. And then we use a short knife or a razor blade to cut it. So there are a couple ways you can do it. You can do it like at an angle, and that'll give it kind of like ears, like it'll kind of rise up.
Yeah.
But if you want like a symmetric like spread, you just cut perpendicular.
Okay.
So I was thinking about doing a flower pattern, like a thing. And so I guess you can just go like this. And it says in the books to do quick decisive strokes, which that probably isn't. But this knife's not sharp enough.
As a little understand, she gives the answer she thinks should be given.
Oh, I really.
And you want to do these cuts like a little bit deeper, like maybe
He'll be payback.
half an inch, and the other one's the purple.
Really?
Yeah.
Not watching. I don't even know know. I said we can't make a plan unless we know we have somebody who'll stay with the girls. But I don't
Quick,
think it's
decisive,
gonna be hours.
repetitive.
I mean, that's probably a couple hours, you know, because
And this is important because it allows the bread to expand kind of and bloom to its full capacity. Otherwise it forms a crust too quickly and it doesn't open up at all.
so yeah, I don't.
So that's pretty good actually.
Upstairs, which I love. And
So this is important for the crumb.
Yes, it is important for the crumb. Otherwise the bread won't rise.
It'll
enough.
get too dense, right?
Exactly.
Like, don't fast forward to the eggs.
So these are all going to spread symmetrically, I think. So don't use rubber oven mitts, as I learned with the.
Yeah, put it on the.
It's cracked.
No?
You didn't see it here. Spatula is what I really want, but I'll just do it like this.
Yeah, all this
And then
Is there any
it's going to
oil or
expand
any,
unless it. No,
no
just
oil or
dry.
anything in the pan?
And
So it
then
needs to be covered?
For the first 20 minutes, it's covered. Sorry, now reduce the temperature to 450. It's at 500 now. So the first 20 minutes is covered, and then the last 25 is not. So the idea is that normally in a bread baking oven, you can you have little spritz and water coming
Yeah.
out every a few minutes. And that's because if you just put it in a hot oven, it would form a crust and immediately just crust over, and then it doesn't rise anymore. So you want to keep the outside of the dough wet so it keeps rising to its maximum potential. But most, home ovens don't have that. So the solution is to use the Dutch oven, so all the water is contained and it's trapped in there. And you do that for the first 20 minutes until it's basically stopped rising. And then the last 25 minutes, you take the cover off and you let it brown. And
Okay.
kind of bake through evenly. And
Oh, so
that's
it's only 45 minutes.
45 minutes, yeah.
Okay. Where's Matt?
There's a really cool thing that Matt showed me.
Where's the drying rack?
Here, let me get one. I love, that looks good, that doesn't look burnt. It's supposed to be that way. This floor is so sticky now. I better unstick it before Dad starts walking in it. Okay, so put the bread on there, and then I'll show you what Matt.
On where?
In a few seconds here, the bread talks to you, and I love this. I love that it's so alive. As it begins to cool, you have to listen to it talk, to breathe. And he had a name for what it's called.
Shh.
It may take a little bit because of the differential. Like right now, the whole thing's hot, but as the outside cools and the inside's still hot, you hear this sort of crackling sound.
I hear a little bit.
I thought I heard it a second ago.
How does this one look compared to the ones you made?
Looks beautiful. I mean, it looks exactly the same. I don't think it was overcooked. It's very subtle. I like to eat it when it's warm, but he says that you're supposed to, for it to retain its moisture, you're supposed to let it cool completely so that the outside protects the moisture inside.
Mm.
That if you cut it now, you're going to be releasing moisture.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Wow, look at that. Ooh, looks pretty.
Cut more than one. Yeah, can I get a detail?
Look at that crumb. That's good crumb. And so, wait, so did you get the bit about the tablespoon starter, 100 grams white, 100 grams wheat, 200 grams water.
Well, I got that at the beginning of Matt's bread making, and I didn't get Matt saying it again. But I just got it just now while you were cutting bread in your turtleneck.
Now you want take a tablespoon of starter, which you can just leave in the fridge when you're not using it. You add 100 grams of whole wheat flour, 100 grams of white flour, and you can use white bread flour if you want. And then 200 grams of water at about 60 or 70 degrees. But really, you're just gonna like let it sit out overnight, covered.
Or you let the starter
cloth.
sit out overnight.
Yeah, you let that sit overnight so it grows. Just put it under a cloth, and then you can either put it back in the fridge or you can make bread. I think if you're like a baker, you always leave it out and you're always making bread every day. But I just put it in the fridge, and then when I want to make bread, I discard. You discard a lot of it, right? Every time you feed it.
But can you freeze it also?
I think so. I've never done it though.